I love your all black fits, Ram. It's like a
Reliable vibes.
It is.
My boy looked like a like an Apple engineer. For real. My boy be in the back with them making them big decisions for real.
I feel like you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, you got it. The all black, you can't beat that, bro. That's a respectable man. All black.
I just want to look consistently clean.
All black, you gotta respect that man, bro. It's like I don't got time to fuck around.
Do you have like a favorite black shirt?
That's crazy.
Bro, it's changed over the years.
Like
so,
I have a favorite, like I have a bunch of white shirts that I use as bases for things.
So right now I have 2 different like models of black shirts that I wear consistently. There's this one, which is like a Calvin Klein Supima cotton one. And I absolutely love it. But it is like a regular cut. Mm-hmm. And then I have the Uniqlo oversized cut.
Yeah, the Uniqlo oversized is so fire.
Uniqlo oversized cut is top tier.
The Uniqlo oversized is like, I have like that in multiple colors, white, black, like.
So I have, in my closet, I swear to God. Did you guys watch Daredevil?
Yeah.
You know
on
when
Netflix?
when they go to Fisk's closet and it's just like 10 white suits? I promise you that is the top line of all just like black shirts.
I absolutely
and then the
believe
second row is a whole bunch of black Levi's jeans. And then I just get a new 2 pairs of Levi's jeans like every 6 months or so.
That's so your bag, bro. I feel like the one color outfit is like the ultimate productive person's whole style.
Talk about it like a system efficiency.
Yeah, system efficiency.
You know when it's like, oh, like I put my like clothes out the night before.
For sure.
It's like no. I just go.
Yeah,
and I know exactly what it
Never
is.
been touched. Everyone different.
Like
you know
no time is wasted in the day.
And basically the only difference between which black shirt I choose is just like where my BMI is at the point.
Hey.
Sometimes I'm like out of bulk and I'm just like a little heavy and I'm just like I can't wear
oversized.
a normal. I can't wear this when I'm like
that's crazy.
like on a bulk.
Imagine your girl. Imagine you telling your girl, "Hey, babe, go get me the black shirt," and she get it for you. It's like, no, not that one. It's like the other one. She like, what you mean? He like, it's this one. He's like, you see the difference, the detail, the scene.
It'll literally be it'll be the easiest freaking thing. But it's like consistently what I do now. It's like 90% of the time it's the same fit, same black boots every day, black Levi's jeans, black shirt every day.
I respect it.
And then the 10% of the time is like, okay, I'm putting on a suit. Okay, we're like like it's someone's birthday, so I'm like,
I've seen you put on a flannel here and there.
Yeah, we'll layer, we'll do some flannels. We have some white shirts in the closet, but they in the corner. You know what I mean? I'm not
getting no love.
We're not busting. Well, here's the other thing: is like I get so paranoid about wearing white.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's like the second you wear white, it's like if I get anything on this shirt, the shirt is cooked.
It's cooked.
It's 100% cooked.
I'm gonna be mad too. I'm gonna be shitty.
That's it. You're buying a new shirt.
That's why I keep them little pins on me.
But even then, it's like that shirt is cooked. I
didn't realize that until recently. How like it doesn't matter like if you bleach like whatever like that stains. There's some stains that will not go. Like,
that is no longer your nice white shirt.
I have this beautiful white cardigan from like Ame, and I took it to the dry cleaner, and the guy like looks at me and he's like, "Yo, fam, like I double dry clean this. This shit is not coming out." And I was,
okay, so how are we feeling today?
Good.
The reason I brought you two, I want to give you both flowers real quick. Wolf, we've talked a lot of times about some of the episodes that you talk about and vulnerability about some of the topics. Like I'm forgetting the exact title, but it was essentially like everything's good and I still don't feel okay.
Yeah. Why do I feel so unhappy even though nothing's actually wrong?
Yeah. And I feel like I very much resonated with that. Probably like a lot of probably more male folks did. And that
don't leave women out like that.
This is one thing that I will say. It's not necessarily that women don't have that, but I think it is more common in men, namely because I think sometimes it is harder for men to label and like have the self-awareness to like know what the actual thing is.
For sure, yeah.
And like have the emotional wherewithal to like have the conversation of like, okay, I don't feel okay, and like what's the thing wrong? And I think for a lot of women out there, at least from the women that I have as friends, like that conversation of like, oh, I'm not feeling good because this thing is causing additional stress. Like most of the times when I have conversation with my women friends, like that is an easier thing for them to label than a lot of my male friends.
It's because we lack EQ.
Yeah.
It's because men lack EQ.
Yeah, and I like...
We can't actually label it correctly. Yeah. That's what it is.
Like, I think part of that is like owning that... Well,
women have more outlets too. Yeah. A lot more outlets.
Well, one of the things that I put in the note was this conversation that Trevor Noah had with on the Diary of a CEO, and one of the things that they were talking about in that, I think it's at like the 53-minute mark, is they were talking specifically about how men historically, like, they had very clear purpose. They went to work, and that was their thing, and all they had to do was like do good at work, and that was purpose. And women historically have been forced to find purpose outside of work. So even now, as they're taking their rightful place in the workplace and like getting what they deserve in terms of like equality and equal pay and all of those things, they still have that historical experience with finding meaning outside of just the workplace. Whereas men historically, a lot of the tropes are the finance guy that works 100 hours a week and like has the worst relationship with his family because he never takes the time because he feels like he needs to be working all the time.
For sure, yeah.
And I think that kind of goes into like, okay, I'm getting the money, I'm getting all these things, but like actual life isn't as positive as I feel it should be for somebody who's getting the accolades. And I think that's one of the reasons why that resonated with me so much. And then Ihram, I know you didn't put out the full episode.
Did not.
But I was here in the studio with you when you were having that solo episode around your mental health, some of the struggles that you've had, and some of the feelings that you were feeling at that time. I'm not sure if you're still feeling that way. I'll leave that up to you to like label and share if you want. But for me, I resonated with a lot of what you were saying. Probably like 99%. And it very much hit home.
What part?
All of it. And I mean that literally.
Really?
Yeah. One of the things that hit me the hardest, and we can totally edit this out if you don't want to keep it in.
Go ahead.
But like when you were talking about what if I just like disappear? Like if I could just like not do this, and will that matter? Is like, do I even want to have the headaches anymore? Right, when you were talking about your experience of like the ideation of what that would look like, not necessarily like I want to do that actively, but like the ideation of just like I could just drive into the other side of the lane and we just don't have to worry about it anymore. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes some of those conversations are very heavy. And I think for a lot of people, those types of feelings can come with a lot of shame, but I don't think they're as uncommon as a lot of people think they are.
Yeah.
Seeing as from the amount of conversations that I've had around those things, and I think there is something to be said for the more creative-minded, forward-looking people that I've had relationships with that have the concept of death be more forward in how they're thinking about their life.
Yeah. I think it's like a double-edged sword. Like everything has a positive part of it and then a negative part of it, right? Like there's always both sides of it.
Yeah.
The thing when I was younger, people used to ask like, what is like your biggest like what do you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And I used to always say like, yo, I want to leave a legacy. But if you look at the flip side of what does that mean, it means what exists after I'm not here in death, right? And for everybody who you're describing as forward-looking or creative, right?
Yeah.
It's all men and women that want to drive and create something.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is also feared in like why, right?
Yeah.
Like your why for that has to be, or it is usually rooted in I want to create something that outlasts me.
Like another reference that I think of that it's a lyric that has stayed in my brain since I heard it in 2020 on the Weekend album was he has a line in Snow Child, which is, I'm paraphrasing, so I'm probably going to fuck this up. I said when I was 18, if I didn't make it, I would make my wrist bleed. And then, like, that line just hits so hard because I think it hits particularly hard for anybody that has had even an inkling of that feeling of just like, well, if I'm not doing things at the highest level, what is the point of doing things?
Yeah.
You guys should both also like speak on this, right? But like I think like a lot of times, right? Like especially like when you have again double-edged sword, right? When you have ambition, it creates expectation, right? And then when you don't meet said expectation, it creates like negative thoughts that like you have to process and do something with. Right? Like the journey to do those things, right? And it's like one of those things, like if you want those things, you have to at some point deal and process. Because the trope of, hey, the person that just puts their head down and works for 100 hours, that's one way to get there. But once you get there, you still have all the things that you didn't deal with at the end of it. That's why you hear about all these people that are like millionaires, billionaires, right? That are still lacking happiness.
Yeah. I think the other line that like I feel like is related, that also has been stuck on my brain since I heard it, is the Tyler line of like, I'd rather cry on my boat in the ocean. And that line I think is like part of that. There is a balance between like, I don't see important doing things if I'm not doing things at the highest level. And then also it's like, there are problems that can solve themselves once you have a level of success. That gives you the space to address some of those other more nuanced emotional situations, which I think some people, I think it is easier to fall into the trap of putting those off because you're driving for the traditional metrics versus having the active mindset of like, okay, I'm going to have this in the sideline of these are some things that I will be actively addressing when possible, but I know that these things like, for example, if you're experiencing like lack in funds, things like having health insurance get easier once you solve the lack of funds. Right. So, and then part of it is like understanding this balance between like the problems that can be solved by money and the problems that you can't solve with money, but sometimes also get easier once you have like the traditional metrics of success that I think males tend to subscribe to more.
It's all things.
Yeah.
It's all things. Like you started off with saying like what men's purpose has traditionally been, right?
Yeah.
And like a man who is lacking those things is going to not feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
Like that's a given. Like
I will say I will throw in the notes the link to the episode for anybody that wants to listen to it. But
yeah, like the men who like aren't able to provide for their families and aren't able to like provide for themselves and aren't able to take care of their girl or aren't able to take care of their mothers, they don't feel good about themselves. That's like a given. Now, is there also a percentage of the population that has and is able to do all those things and then is still unhappy?
Yeah.
Yes, but then we can diagnose what those things are, right? Like you got to check off the checklist of what is making me unhappy. Like Wolf's title, right? What was the title again? Can we get it?
Oh, why do I feel so unhappy even though nothing's actually wrong?
Yeah.
Nothing is actually wrong, right? But for you, that means that there's something. Nothing being wrong does not mean that everything is good.
You're right, 100%.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing being wrong does not mean everything is good, right? Like I tell the story about like the inception of like my podcast, right? I looked around, I said I had amazing friends, I had a beautiful relationship, like I had a great job. Like, why am I still unhappy? It's because it wasn't the things that I gave a fuck about.
Yeah.
Just because nothing was wrong doesn't mean that everything was good, right? And like, again, like especially as like a man, like your purpose is of course all of those things.
Well, I think there is an element of like being a human. A lot of purpose comes from serving others. And I think
because if you wasn't gonna get there first, I was for sure.
Yeah. And like a lot of the purpose comes from serving others, and I think it is
giving is receiving.
When you don't have the outlet of service, there is a thing that feels a little bit hollow in whatever you're doing. Yeah. So like even if you have like the great relationship, like okay, but like how are you spending your time during the day? Are you just like clocking in? Blankly looking at an Excel sheet and like going home.
Stuck in monotony.
Yeah. And like, do you have a connection to the thing that you're contributing to the world? Because I think sometimes like there are things like there are times when that can be your job, going to look at an Excel sheet, but like it's attached to you're providing the service to the world and it feels meaningful. Versus when you are divorced from that meaning and you lose a lot of the substance behind like the work that you could be doing and spending your time on.
No, even the people that are happy in corporate, like I used to always be like, do y'all really feel that way? And they do. Like the people that would be like, oh, like we're like contributing so much to like
one of the most fulfilled,
Amazon's value, and it's like, oh, you actually believe that. You actually believe you're contributing, which is why you're happy at your job.
Yeah. Some of the people that I had the most respect for was like the people who worked at OG Twitter. Because I think a lot of those people, at least that I knew, were so community minded that it was like, oh, I see how you have that substance to the community that you're providing for so many people. And I see like that provides you with a lot of meaning and a substance in what you're doing. And
I think in general, bro, like as a saying, nobody's bigger than the program, right? Yeah. Like you got to live for something that's bigger than yourself. And the minute you're not living for something that's bigger than yourself, you got a very limited amount of time before you start to get affected by it. Like America as a whole is like a sick system, bro. You know what I mean? It's like the whole concept, the whole concept of what the American dream to a lot of people, it's not inherently natural, bro. You know, it's not inherently natural. Like it almost, like where does that come from where you could accomplish something that's worthy of praise and then you are quick to, it took you forever to get to that moment of victory and glory, but then it's like, no, I'm on to the next thing. Yeah. Like, where does that come from?
But then also, like, how much did you lose along the way? Because I think it's easy to lose the connections and the importance of the people that you're side by side with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Like, one of the things that I really didn't like about some of the worst work experiences that I had were people that were very divorced from the substance of the work and the service that work was providing, and that only focused on like the personal benefit. And
you're gonna
like
lose every time you do that.
Yeah,
you're gonna lose every time. Like it has to be something has to be bigger than yourself. Like giving is receiving.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And some people are just not at that place in their life journey yet where you don't understand. Like, yo, when I do something good for Remy, when I do something good for anybody, it's like the feeling that. The fact that I can be confirmed and be affirmed by the fact that you're happy now or your life became better, there's a gift that comes from that. But nobody's conditioned to think like that. And that's what I mean about this is sickness in America. It's like they don't teach kids this. You know what I mean? Maybe in some other places around the world, you know what I mean? So you almost set up for inevitable failure in some type of way, right? And maybe you don't get it in high school. Maybe you don't get it in college. Maybe you don't get it till after college. But at some point you run into the fact like, damn, why am I not happy when my babies is good? You know what I mean? We got food in the fridge, got the whip in the garage. Like, why am I not happy? It's because you're not being fulfilled. Why are you not being fulfilled? Because you've been convinced that this is the metric of success. And then you get close to it and realize, like, damn, still not happy. Maybe I go a little further.
Yeah.
Damn, still not happy. Maybe I get a little further.
One
you
of
never
the
find
craziest
it.
stories I ever heard was the story that Rick Rubin tells.
Shout out Rick Rubin, bro.
When he talked about, it was in a Broken Record, the podcast that he hosts, but he was telling the story of when he got the call that the Beastie Boys hit number one. And he was saying how he got the call, he picked it up. His lawyer was like, hey, congratulations, you're number one. How does it feel? And Rick's just like, feels the same.
That's terrible.
Bro, Will Smith said that. He's like, yo, I could tell you at the end of all of this. Think about how accomplished Will Smith is, right? He's like, I could tell you at the end of all the money, all the cars, all the women that I fucked, right? At the end of it, the only thing I care about, the only thing that drives me happiness are my kids, my wife, and my family. That is it. I could tell you that now.
Yeah.
I could tell you that. I could tell you that as a fact. But you're not figuring that out until you go run through the same gauntlet.
Yeah, bro.
And I think about my dad, right? Like, yo, his entire life, this man just worked like 7 days a week, right? Just putting up numbers on the board, right? You know what my dad does now, like in retirement? My God, and he's like the happiest he's ever been. Watches movies, gardens, like tries to hang out with us, right? Like that's like, and he's the happiest he's ever been.
Yeah.
But yo, you could have had that. You could have had that for like, again, now he's at, like, you know, like my dad's older in his like 60s. I'm like, damn, you could have had that for like 28 years that I've been alive. You could have had that. You could have had that time with your kids. Now you fighting for it.
Yeah.
But like, yo, you could have had that. But again, like as men, you're told your purpose was what?
Yeah.
Get the bread, get the biggest car, get the whatever it was.
The conditioning of America. And then also America makes it very hard to sustain, especially when you got a family. When you got people that you need to take care of, or if you want to have more traditional roles, it's like I want my wife to be at home with the children while I'm outside of the home working an insurmountable amount of hours, you know what I mean? But that's the way America is set up. So a lot of ways, America is not set up for your mental health benefit. Your mental wellness is not set up for that. So we trying to do our best to play two games very well at the same time. And and a lot of people, some people lose their mental health. Some people lose to depression. Some people lose to unaliving themselves. Some people lose to just falling asleep at the wheel. It's like, how long? Sometimes you wake up, it's like, how long was I asleep? That happened to me all the fucking time. I'll fucking wake up and be like, how long have I been just autopiloting everything because I've been doing it long enough just to realize like I'm not really living though. You know what I mean? But that's like a symptom of the American lifestyle in a lot of different ways. You know what I mean?
Okay, question. How do y'all look at, because we're all relatively young, right? How do y'all look at building balance in the life that you guys are building right now? Because I know like we're all in media, like at this point. Like it's not always traditional schedules. It's not always, there's a lot of control that you have, but also a lot of pressure that comes along with that to, I think when you're entrepreneurial, right, and you're in situations where like you're essentially working for yourself or you're working as freelance, there's a lot of pressure to like working till the gas tank is truly, truly beyond empty, right? So it takes a lot more intention to build balance into the life that you want. And for me, it's something that I think now it's probably one of the things that I think about the most of like, there was this quote that Colin and Samir had where they were talking about how one of the best pieces of advice that they ever got was in their career, it's like, do the thing and take the projects that you want to be asked to do more of in 10 years. So my question is just like, how do y'all think about building with intention now and the types of things that you use to judge whether this is a decision that you want to make or a thing that you want to build or a project that you want to take on? Like, how do you think about like, okay, I need to correct the balance towards my mental health, my like the type of sustaining things that I'm building around me?
I think it's really like, it's going to sound so simple, but it really is just like prioritization. You can only give a fuck about so many things, right? And the first things to cut out are like the easy shit that you don't actually want to care about, right? Like whatever, like smoking weed every Friday, right? Or drinking every Friday, Saturday night. Like those are the baseline easy cutoff ones, right?
Yeah.
But then the bar becomes even more and more difficult to raise, right? Because then I'm cutting off, you know what? I do enjoy hanging out with this one friend, right? But I can only give a fuck about so many things. I got to focus on my business. I got to focus on my physical. Because again, if the physical is broken, right, then none of the other shit matters. Then I got to also focus on my mental. But then I also got my parents. Then I got my girl. And all of those things, like I can only give a fuck about so many things.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're trading off. Every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else,
100%.
whether you know it or not intentionally.
So what was the last time that you had to rebalance and like say no to a thing to correct towards a value that you felt like was lacking a little bit in how you were living?
I think entrepreneurs, we do it every day. I think every day I look at my day and I'm all like, okay, every single moment is a decision, right? Like
But I'm going to press you a little bit more. Like, what was the situation where you were just like, this was a decision that you had to make and you went, I'm going to choose to do this to compensate because I'm not serving this out of myself?
My fraternity, like big, right? Like my brother, like I have so much love for him. I haven't even told him this, so if he sees this, it's going to be upsetting. His RSVP for his wedding was like yesterday. And I like, it's in like Italy, like it would have been beautiful for me to go, right? But here's the thing. At this point in my life, at the juncture that I'm at, the things that I'm trying to do, the things that I'm trying to balance, I cannot justify going. I have so much love for him.
That's real.
I have so much love for him, right?
Yeah.
But I can't take 4 weeks off or 3 weeks off to go fuck off in Italy.
Yeah.
My business can't afford it.
That's just not where I'm at.
I can't afford it. My relationships can't afford it. It's just not where I'm at.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very difficult thing that I prolonged it. I knew like a month ago, I still knew. I was like, there's just no way I'm making it.
It was just one of those things where you're like, I know I need to send this message or do this thing.
I know I need to say no, but I just, it hurt, right? Like it's difficult. Like that's like, because people talk about like the easy stuff. Like the easy stuff is like, obviously the destructive behaviors.
Yeah.
But then the behaviors that make you better, those are like difficult. Like it's easy to say, hey, like don't drink, don't eat bullshit, don't. But then it's hard to go, hey, like now go to the gym. Yeah. Hey, now go see a therapist. Now go. Yeah. Those are the difficult ones. You want to get better. Like if the things aren't working, you have to consistently improve. People always say the definition of insanity is doing the same exact thing. Mm-hmm. The things that are, if you're unhappy and you're choosing to do the same exact things, you're choosing to be unhappy. Yeah. We brought up my episode from like 7 months ago. If I look at my lifestyle, I'm not
7 months ago.
When was it? September? September? Yeah.
Damn, that's
time flies, right?
That's
5 months ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Crazy.
Like,
in my brain, that's like 3 weeks ago. I'm not gonna lie.
That's how it feels, right?
Yeah.
But I think about how much work internally and externally has to get done for me to say, like, yo, I'm in a better spot.
Yeah.
And we make those decisions. I know you guys make those decisions. I know we were joking about Rem's outfit, right? But like the optimization of even that. Right? Yeah. Of saying like, yo, I can't even make that sacrifice. Like I need my personal style and I need to look fresh and all fly. That's a personal decision. That's costing me something somewhere. Yeah. Whether it's money because I gotta have the nice hoodie, whether it's time because I gotta go pick it out and make sure all of those things are trade-offs that we make every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do y'all feel like there's let me ask y'all since you guys asked me, like what is a decision that was a difficult decision that you had to make for your benefit?
I make it all the time, bro. You know what I mean? Like I'm in a place in my life where I'm understanding there's a difference between value and money. Understanding that they're not always the exact same thing. And what I mean is like I get a lot of opportunities to like shoot shit. You know what I mean? Somebody want to hire me to shoot something, capture an event or something like that. But then, and you always end up, especially in New York City, you're always thinking like, I could always use some extra money. You always feel like that. You know what I mean? But I'm at a place now where I get to thinking like, yeah, even though I could actually use that extra money, then I think about all the hours it takes to shoot this. Then and I know you feel me on this. It take all the time to shoot it, then all the time to edit it.
I'll be honest, I just sent out a quote today, and I was working on it for like the last 48 hours, partly because there was so much that was going into like, okay, what is like the realistic calculations of time, and then
the realistic calculations.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of times in our business, a lot of folks are like, oh yeah, we're going to record a 1 minute TikTok. That'll take 5 minutes, bro.
Right.
How many, the amount of times that we've gone to record like a 1 minute TikTok or like a 2 minute ad read and it takes 15, 20 minutes.
Do y'all think that is because you guys have an abundance of opportunities? I feel like I'm closer to that now, and honestly a lot of our conversations help that. But do you guys think that's because you guys have an abundance of opportunities? Because somebody who doesn't have that, right, may look at that time and say like, you know what, like even if it does take, they're not even looking at the realistic time because they're like, all I have right now is time.
I'm gonna be fully transparent. I don't feel like I have an abundance of opportunity.
Yeah, it's not that.
And I to put it in perspective, right? I think so. Full transparency. When I graduated in 2020, I basically graduated into being unemployed for 3 years. Basically unemployed for 3 years.
That's tough, gang.
And I say basically because technically I had a part-time sales job at Guitar Center, but like that, when you're working for like $15 an hour and like 3% commissions on sales, like I'm not making any real money, especially compared to the salaries that I was interviewing for pre-pandemic, right? So having 3 years of being unemployed, like last year was the first year that I had actual foundation of like income, right? And even then, it was kind of like the bare minimum to feel like I wasn't hemorrhaging and like living on credit cards and debt just to like.
Yo, that part is important though.
Yeah, no,
that part is very important.
It is, but like now it's getting to a point where I'm at the point where it's continuing, but it's not like I'm making 150, 200,000. I'm still at the number that is almost bare minimum to be consistent, and now it's starting to have the conversations around, okay, I want to be closer to the city. The types of monetary investment that requires to like be able to afford a New York City / North Jersey apartment is substantial. So I think even when you are getting steady opportunities, particularly in the media business, it is easy to be like, steady opportunities is not the same as A, contracts, but also B, it's like, okay, even if I'm getting this like steady full-time-ish income, does that give me cushion to do these things and then have cushion afterwards? For me, I don't feel like that has been consistent. So it's like a lot of the decisions I'm making, for example, the quote that I'm putting together, it's like I have to like check myself to force myself to be like, oh, I could give them this quote for like a low price just because I know that they'll say yes because this is...
Yeah, you know you're going to lock them bread in if you give it a certain...
Like, I know I could send them a quote that's like 60% of what the normal charge would be just to lock this
that they
down.
Can't turn down.
Yeah. But would that actually serve me in the long run? Because now I'm like, the amount of time that I'm committing to is far beyond the cost that it would incur to me.
The money's not worth the value now.
Yeah. So like, do I have a contract? Do I technically have more money coming in? Yes. But is that costing and adding friction to the work that I already have?
Absolutely.
And like reducing the bandwidth for the future work?
Yeah.
Yes. And I think sometimes, or a lot of times for me, it is I'm having to check myself to be a little bit further minded around like, okay, like if you can't get them to a number that is within range of like the actual number of the quote that would make the most sense for you, like you can't just be short-minded and get this number
then it's
confirmed.
It's not worth your time. And like you were saying a minute ago about...
But like it takes a lot of... like you really need to check yourself because it is so hard to say no to money that could be in your pocket when you feel like you are on the border of having enough to sustain or even like kind of get by with the types of like bills or whatever that you have.
It's just wisdom, bro. At the end of the day, like you said, like it doesn't come from like a huge amount of opportunities, but it comes from like just knowing when enough is enough. You know what I mean? Like, and get into it. It is a place of privilege to get to that place too. Because when I first got to the city, I'd do anything for $1.
And I think also it's like part of it is knowing when enough is enough, but I also feel like a big part of it is being able to have a level of confidence and trust in yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I think, going back to like the mental health thing, like I think it is harder to do that when you don't take the time to really support that like mental that you have. If you can't do that, then you're not going to have that foundation to be like, I can trust and like have confidence that I can make this work, even if I don't get this contract signed right now.
It's also retraining your brain to like, again, this is why like every successful person has like let's call it like a struggle period. Because you said enough is enough. I'm gonna tell you this story, right? I was working at Amazon. Growing up, like in college, my entire like life, right? I always said my dream job was to work at Rock Nation.
Yeah.
I'm working at Amazon, making like 85, 90 a year. I get an offer for Rock Nation.
Tight.
But it's 20K less or 15K less or whatever it was.
That sounds like the music industry.
But at that time, I'm thinking, yo, my lifestyle, my like bills, right? I can't have 15K less a year. Now, owning my business and realizing like, yo, like 90K, is it whatever it was to do what I love. But again, it's the enough is enough. You have to, the reason that the struggle period is so important is you realize that anything is enough. I've lived off of like
speaking my language,
$50 a week.
Oh God!
I feel like the two things.
But I've also lived off of like 500 a week. And here's the thing:
God.
at the 500 a week, or bro, I've lived off of 2K a week. But the 2K a week still didn't feel like enough.
Oh God!
But how is 2K a week not enough? But I'm somehow able to stretch 100.
I feel like the two things that'll teach that lesson is either being broke as fuck, or having so much that you don't know what to do with it, and still not
enough.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is
like you look at the numbers, like, bro, I got so many zeros that this shouldn't. Like, I shouldn't be feeling this.
That's why the people with the best risk tolerance are the people who have nothing, and the people who have $1 billion in the bank, because you realize you got nothing to lose. There's nothing to lose. Right? One way or the other. Like, everybody who's stuck in the middle is scared. Like, everybody I hear that talks about, like, wanting to do something like what we do, and they're like, yo, once I have this money in the bank, right, I'm going to do it. You know what you're going to realize? Once you have that money in the bank, you're going to have to pay for a wedding. Once you have that money in the bank, you're going to have to pay for this. It's never going to be enough if you say, this thing is not worth that value.
Yeah, what's it called? Lifestyle inflation, right? It's like as you make more, people, like a lot of people's natural tendency is to just spend more. okay, now I'm making 50 more grand a year. Okay, so now instead of driving that Toyota, I'm driving a BMW and I'm doing all these extra things.
Right. Yeah.
This is a larger world thing. I think a lot of people are going to have to, we saw for a long time, like just so, like economically, we just saw like people's salaries and everything increase. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of free money in the last like 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. That's like no longer the case. Like a lot of these like tech salaries are coming down to earth now, right? So everybody's solution before, like the US solution to everything is make more money. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But what happens now when you can't make more money? Like when it was easy to be double unemployed or like whatever, right? Like there's always an option to make more money. Mm-hmm. But when the majority can now no longer make more money, what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to, what we're talking about, sacrifice something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And lifestyle is one of those things that people have a very difficult time sacrificing, right? Because you guys see, y'all are in here all the time, right? Mm-hmm. You guys see people with money, without money, putting up for their dream. Because they've decided, hey, this is worth whatever value that I'm putting into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Y'all have decided, this is worth whatever value I'm putting into it.
Yeah.
If we're talking about like mental health, like doing what you want to do, doing what you were almost born to do, that is your cure.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the main topic, just to top it off, is like, again, like you just got to understand what's really worth your time and what's not. That's going to be very valuable to you for building anything. Like you think about like a people pleaser, right? It's a dude I know right now. I'm not going to say his name, you know what I mean? But he always saying yes to shit, always taking new opportunities. And it's like, why are you doing that knowing that your plate full?
Yeah, that's me. That's me. I need that check. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm very in that. I need that check mode.
Killing yourself. You know what I mean? Knowing that you already at capacity with what you have on your plate now. But
and then like a lot of times what that turns into is just diluting the brand.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You hurting yourself. You becoming a less optimal version of yourself. Like, you making the decision not to go to Italy. Like, I remember one time my ex was like, let's go to Paris. And she was serious, you know what I mean? And I was like, baby, I can't do that right now. You know what I mean? Like it's some other things right now that really require my hands-on attention, and being in Paris, as dope as that sound, that's just not best for me right now. You know what I mean? And you got to make decisions like that sometimes. Sometimes you got to look some shit in the face and be like, that's dope. That's cool. But right now, that would actually cause more harm than good. Temporary good for like long-term harm. You know what I mean? You just got to have a level of discernment and understand that.
Y'all have a, somebody asked me this recently. Do y'all have a hourly dollar value that you attribute to your time? Like when you guys are taking in contracts, like you're talking about like the 10-second TikTok,
it depends
right?
on what the service is.
You do though?
It depends on what the service is.
No. Yeah. The way that I want to reframe that question a little bit is just like, just your time.
Yeah.
No, just your time.
I mean,
like if someone was going to just hire you to do anything for an hour, how much is that hour worth?
To me, it depends on the service. That's how I look at it. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody asking me to edit some shit, it depends on what it is that I'm editing. You know what I mean? It depends on your vibe. It depends on your energy.
But I'm saying, like, bare minimum.
But why does it depend on the service? Because if it takes you, like, if editing takes you an hour, right? But you setting up, I don't know, like a podcast studio takes also an hour, right? Why is it different for you?
Well, it depends, because a lot of the time when you freelancing and stuff like that, you taking on, it's very few opportunities you're going to take on that you love, and way more opportunities you're going to take on that's just for the money. And then you got to consider the person that's trying to hire you. Sometimes you can look at a person and you can know they're not worth whatever money they're giving. You just know. And so it just, all of these factors go into mind that I'm thinking about, you know what I mean? Whereas somebody might want to pay me for an hour, like you said, assume like an hour of your time just to speak. Yeah. Like almost like a consultation. Yeah. See, that's a different service I would charge than a service I would charge to hire me to edit something for you.
I will say the way that I think about it is like, I do have a floor for the value of my time. So I will be like, the bare minimum that I will take an hour and I will like book out an hour for anything. There is a value there. For me, it fluctuates sometimes, and it's steadily increased over the years as time has gotten more booked up. I think now it's steady around like that 40, 50 mark, where it's just like bare minimum. Like there was nothing that I will take that less on average will be less than that amount.
Oh, you mean like a year?
No, like for 1 hour, like $50.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of like how I look at it and I use that as a baseline because I think what you're saying about like there are things that add and subtract from that value. It's like, okay, if you're gonna give me a bunch of headaches, like headaches cost energy.
I'm gonna run you up.
Yeah, but like the way that I look about it, the way that I also look at it is like, okay, if I have these additional headaches, and those additional headaches require me to take another like hour of time to decompress from the said headaches. That's another hour.
I'm not doing it at all. if it's, and that's what I mean. Like if it's causing me headaches, I done turned down some bread. I ain't doing it. I done had people try to poach me from WTF. It's like I'm not doing it. Because I already know as soon as I step over that line, everything that come with it is not the money. I'm not even going to see the value after. Now I'm in, you know what I mean, in your proximity. You know what I mean? So you definitely got to understand that like the difference between like the dollar amount and the value that comes from it. All money really not good money. It's some certain shit, the older you get, hopefully like you become wiser. You realize it's some shit you hear people say all the time. They say that shit for a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe you just ain't had your time to learn it yet.
One of the realest things about getting older is realizing how fucking true a lot of those cliches are.
Bro, them shits be true, bro.
You have to think. It's like people like I know like as like you know this is something that comes from
trust
like
the process,
age a little bit. It comes from age, right? Like it's like all of these people have lived like when we start looking at like humanity and society as like yo we've all lived. Like everybody has lived a billion lives.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Yeah. And it's like you're taking advice from billions of people's wisdom.
Wisdom, yeah, data.
And you think because, I'm me and I'm so different that like, this wisdom does not apply to me.
Because you can't relate to it yet.
Yeah, because I haven't lived that life
That's
yet.
It. It just it's not
honestly,
relatable to you.
I don't think that is you can't relate to it. I think it's just that you don't understand it yet. Because I think
that's what I mean.
No, I think there are a lot of cliches that people could relate to if they took the wall down enough to admit that they relate to it.
But you have to experience it.
You have to experience it.
You have to experience it. Somebody brought this up.
Well, I think your mind has to be cracked open sometimes. Because I think some people they have a state of very closed-mindedness. So even if you tell them a thing until they have it kind of shoved in their face.
It don't hit them yet.
You catch Hormozi's Diary of a CEO? It just came out like literally like 2 days ago.
I saw like the ad for it. I haven't watched the episode.
A very cool concept that he brought up. He was talking about like team building for companies, right? Yeah. And he's like, yo, think about it. When you have one person in your company, you only have that one person's experiences driving the entire foundation of this company.
Right.
When you have, let's say, 4 people with very different experiences, you have 4 people's different wisdoms bringing experience and moving that company forward, right? Think about what we do, right? Like I know we talk shop a lot, right? Yeah. I pick game from a lot. We all do the same thing, but we have very different experiences even in the same industry.
Of course, absolutely.
And therefore I can take like that's what happens when we converse. Right? When we converse, I'm taking game from your experiences so I don't have to go live that experience.
Yeah, and it vicariously. It's one of my favorite. I'm a vicarious learner. You know what I mean? I'm gonna learn through the wisdom of what you said and how the situation went down. So I don't necessarily have to walk through the exact same footsteps.
You can either learn from your mistakes or someone else's.
Yeah, rather learn through someone else's mistakes.
Let me read a book. Someone else can take that lesson. Somebody else can have that hard-fought lesson about something that you shouldn't do going to the northern ice caps. Like, I don't need to go do that to learn that lesson.
some shit don't hit you till it hits you. Like, I remember one time I was pumping gas, and then it just dawned on me, bro. Like, damn, knowledge is power, bro. Like, it just hit me, bro. For real.
But that's why what Rem said right before is so important, right? Like, you opening it up, like, I think coming into a conversation, coming into a interaction, and assuming, like, I used to always think, like, yo, it's just like the younger man's ego. I used to always think, yo, I'm like, I got the knowledge here, right? I'm smarter than you because my SAT was whatever the fuck. When you take that down and you realize, yo, from every person, I could pick up some game.
Oh man,
the world is different.
Oh man,
the world is completely different.
Some of the best knowledge and perspectives and wisdom is hidden in the most unsought after places. You know what I mean? So it's like just the example you use, like my SAT score. I think this is self. It's some people who probably couldn't scale a SAT score, but you think about like a mother or something like that. Like a mother has a level of wisdom she can pull from that's so not aligned with what like works in like the competitive world, you know what I mean? But it's like, but what she knows, that shit is like timeless. And so like to your point, like we all got these things that we can bring to the table. Once we bring it, we make the whole better, which goes back to the very top of the conversation. You can't be, nothing's bigger than the program, bro. You know what I mean? The program is collaboration. Like you think about what's the point of life? It's to pass down information. The end. There's no bigger purpose in this bitch. It's literally for no other reason. People out here fucking, having babies, so you can pass the information down. Yo, my son will absolutely be smarter than me. And I can't wait to see it. Like everything it took my whole life to get to this place, everything I had to learn, all the mistakes I made, I can give him that shit and condense it in such an effective learning style that he's going to be 10 times what I was. But ain't that what it's supposed to? He's supposed to be the better half of me and his mother.
But that's where honestly, happiness in men, a lot of that is that. True. Like a lot of unhappy men, it's like, yo, if you can believe that, like, yo, it's bigger. I'm bigger than my existence is bigger than just
for sure
myself.
Legacy. Legacy again.
Legacy.
Go back to what you said.
My existence is my wife. My existence is my friends. My existence is my kid.
Absolutely.
Right? When you can say my existence is so much more, right? Like I used to always look at, again, legacy, right? Yo, my legacy is going to be if every single conversation I had drove somebody to do something positive.
Fire.
Yo, that's my legacy.
Fire.
I could point at a billion things. I think about my grandma, right? My grandma was, like grew up in a village, came here, poor as hell, right? But here's the thing. She got 9 kids, 32 grandkids, right? Every single good action that comes from her once giving us game or once giving me a meal or her once whatever. Right now on the public level, I'm attributing it to her.
Have to.
But on a spiritual whatever level, think about the value that is.
Absolutely, bro.
Like just the value that it's not even spoken about. Like I've we give each other flowers, right? I've told y'all the certain levels of game that y'all have given me that have truly impacted my business, the way I move around, all of that. That's y'all legacy. If y'all go away tomorrow, right?
Yeah, bro.
Like,
yeah, bro.
If y'all go away tomorrow, think about the things that I'm gonna say about y'all. It's gonna be like, yo, you know what? Like, yo, Wolf always pulled me to the side and gave me game. Rem always had an extra 30 minutes after a session to kick it with me about my business.
Value.
That's legacy.
Yeah, bro.
Like legacy, people think it's like, yo, whatever bank account I hit, and then I could pass on to my kids or pass on to my family.
Yeah, maybe but it's like energy is a domino effect, bro. Energy is a domino effect. It's one piece colliding to the next one, and it's a continuation of that at best. You know what I mean? And it's like we all need to be finding ways that we can do that for each other. Like, bro, life is so, when they say live in the moment, that's just some other simple shit that people say all the time, but then it dawned on you. Like, all of us, we're in a very particular chapter right now where we're in each other's bubble for right now. But not too long from now, bro, one of us, I'm not going to be in New York for too much longer. You know what I mean? I'm going to leave. I don't know how long it's going to be till I see the both of you. You know what I mean? I'm going to go in and have my own kids, my own family. I might move to California. I might move somewhere else. You might stay here, become a fucking trillionaire. You might move somewhere else, do some other different shit. You might be the biggest podcaster or something. Like, our lives, this shit work for right now. It's like our circles cut into each other right now, but in a minute, they're going to go separate places. You know what I mean? So you just got to understand that, like, do what you can with the energy that you got and allow it to be a domino effect. But no matter where you go, we're going to always have that shared connection. And that's a beautiful thing. You're going to look on YouTube and be like, yo, that's my man's. You know what I mean?
Because again, we look at death as the only departure, right? Yeah, we depart every day.
Life has a million goodbyes.
It's a million goodbyes. I think about how many people that I have in interaction with that I probably will never speak to ever again.
Oh God, that's
Let's be fucking for real. Like in all of our lives, people from high school that had real places in my life. I will never speak to again, but I'll remember something maybe positive that they've done for me, to me, the energy that they even brought into the room.
Yeah.
I always get reminded, like, y'all ever just like, you know, it's Valentine's Day, like somebody will post something real quick and then I'll get like a like from like a random person I haven't spoken to in years.
Like, that's bro, we used to kick it.
One of the most random things, when I posted the first clip from the last episode, someone commented under, because the clip was about like, one of my friends was kind of clowning on me. She made a joke about like how I'll make a friend on the subway, or like we were talking about how I will just make a friend on the subway and never talk to them again. And one of the people that commented under it was this person that I literally had maybe a 10-minute conversation with at Strand. Like I was just walking past the art book section and we just got into it about this like book that I read recently and like her recommendations and stuff. And she commented, she was like, you know, I will attest, like she's probably like middle aged, and she was just talking about like, hey, yeah, he literally just had a 10-minute conversation, and I almost completely forgot about this person. That brought me right back.
But they didn't.
Yeah,
they didn't.
And that was a crazy little moment. But
yeah, like
the other thing that I want to say is like, I want to throw two things out there because one of the things that you guys were talking about, like a lot of common strand between a lot of the things that we've been talking about in the last few minutes is like community and the importance of like the people around you. Harkening back to the last episode that I had with two of my friends, but I think now with some of the perspective that I've gained from the last few years, like looking at how to build community more intentionally is like such a bigger focus in how I'm thinking about like building my time and like the types of things that I'm doing, and it being a bigger priority, because I think as you get older, it takes more and more energy, like active energy, to keep that in your life. Because like,
oh, for sure.
I think sometimes, especially when I was younger, I took for granted that like there would always be people around.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say one of the things that comes up for me a lot personally is I end up having a lot of situations where I think back to when I was younger. When I was younger, I was a band kid, but one of the things that came along with that was like I was touring over the summer. I toured with people for like 90 days, slept in the same basic like gym as them, like 150 people on a bus touring for 3 months. And one day I would just never see them again.
Yeah.
And that happened for like 4 years straight. Let alone the people that I would talk to in high school. We'll probably never see them again.
For sure.
A lot of the people that I talked to in college, that when people graduated during the pandemic, everybody scattered, and like there's so many people that I really enjoyed having around that the likelihood of me having them around again in the future is like extremely
It's
low.
not likely. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that hits harder as you get older is how easily it could be the last time that you see someone.
Easily. It's a constant rotating revolving door with people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's seasons, it's chapters, it's flavors of the month.
Yeah.
That's why live in the moment, bro. Live in the moment. Like you got to live in it right now, because it's going to change, bro. It's literally going to change. And the thing is, you'll never be able to get that vibe back. It'll go on to form. It'll actually become even better. But sometimes life is not about better and worse. Sometimes something is just unique the way it was.
It's unique the way it
was.
It's
unique the way it was.
A lot of things aren't better or worse. They're just different.
Different.
And sometimes you just got to appreciate a thing for what it is.
What it was.
Sure. Like, what it is, what it was. About it.
Yeah, like the blog era of hip hop, like that shit gone, but it's like, damn, that shit was like, amazing.
Like, my God, who's that? There's an artist that talked about this. I'm blanking on who it is. It's somebody big. But one of the things that he talked about in an interview is like, a lot of people want me to make more work like this project.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to listen to that project, it's still on streaming. Go listen to it.
But that's why I think it is. Bless you. I think it's so important with like what Wolf's saying, right? And like, again, especially like, and this is what I feel like outside of like if we're looking at purpose as like men, like one of my like what I feel like is a big part of my purpose, that sense of like community and creating safe community, I do feel is like a part of my purpose as a man.
That's real big.
Like, I believe my purpose as a man is to set the tone and the vibe of any circles that I may be a part of, to be at a certain level of like ethical nature, certain level of like vibrational energy, right? Because that to me is more being a man than just like...
Than anything.
Yo, you could... Again, anybody could go get a check. Right, but getting a check in an ethical way, leaving people with positive things. Like,
what you do with the check?
Huh?
What you even do with the check?
What I even do with the check? Right? Like, again, like at my lowest, right? Like when I had that, right? I was so like blessed and humbled by how many people were like there in support of me, and I was like, I was really taken aback. But I'm all like. And, you know, somebody was like, yo, like, why do you think that we wouldn't be here for you when that's the contribution you've been given to all of our lives?
Also, and I think, like, there's a lot of, for everyone, I think there's a lot of shame that comes from not being okay.
Yeah.
Like, there can be, like, a lot of people have really deep negative feelings about them not being okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm not okay. I'm supposed to be okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and I'm a bad person because I'm not okay, even though people have it worse.
And your mental health is compromised. I don't think people talk about that enough too. Like when you in the trenches of your situation, you're not seeing shit clearly. So you can't, perception is reality. How you see it is what you live. That's what you feel. So when you feeling like you got a dark cloud over you, you having dark thoughts. You got a dark perspective. You know what I mean? So it's hard to see some shit clearly. It's like, of course your people love you. Of course they was going to be here. But yo, I'm so fucked up in this. I can't even, I forgot, but thank you for reminding me.
And it goes back to again, right? Like the reason that like there is shame around it, some of it is also we have to ask ourselves, like, think about it. If you created a safe space for me, you would never feel shame in being vulnerable back to me because you've created a space that is void of shame. So then why would you, the assumption would never be, oh, I'm going to be shamed because I feel down now. Because I've also created a safe space. I think when you put out positive things at some point, not to say that you'll never have a negative or down moment, but because you're consistently creating positive interactions with folks, when you do have a low moment, because that's the energy you've been provided and you filled up their cup, when your cup is a little low, they can fill that back. Because they're like, yo, because of you, I have an excess here. Because of you, my cup is full. Let me fill that back. And I think, like, again, for men, it's like definitely difficult. And that's why I'm so grateful for circles like these, conversations like this, right? Because for men, like, having that level of vulnerability takes a lot of effort because that's not something that we were probably given from men in our lives prior to us being adults. That's, a generational thing. That's like a societal thing, right? Like, we weren't given safe spaces, so we think, oh, other men aren't gonna, but we're different.
Yeah, there's not a lot of examples of like how to be emotionally intelligent.
Oh, for sure.
I don't blame my dad, but my dad wasn't able to create an emotional space. That was left up to my mother, right? That was just like, that's our culture. That's our culture. That's like where I came from.
And I think sometimes with men, even if they have the example from women in their life, sometimes they're like, that's for them, not for me.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, because again, you look at even that as a feminine trait.
Yeah,
that is literally described as a you got emotions. That's a feminine trait.
Yeah, when it's not.
It's not.
But there's a conception that it is.
It's
for
not.
a lot of people.
It's not. Thinking that emotions are a feminine trait is literally like you just don't believe in science.
Yeah,
we all have the same. Again, are there differences in like hormones and things like that? Yes. We all got the same nervous systems, like not the same nervous systems. We all have nervous systems. We all have neurons. Like we all are taking in the same synapses.
Yeah.
It's so silly to think that, right? But again, you have to, we are going to evolve past that. So hopefully to our kids, our generations, like the people that we touch, that shame around you not being good just does not exist. I don't feel good. I can immediately tell my dad.
Yeah. All right. As we start to wrap up, don't want to hold y'all here for too long. Quick question. What's something y'all done in the last few months? Something small, a routine that you've built in that like really helps with your mental?
Working less hours. Which ironically, I'm working more hours right now. But in a minute, I'm going to get back to working less hours. Because again, like value and money are not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah.
And understanding that even though you might have made the most money you ever made in your life, that doesn't mean it equates to the value of your time. And being mindful of that, even if you can't do necessarily anything right now to change the situation financially. You get what I'm saying?
100%.
That's what I'm on.
I resonate with that so much.
Yeah,
you have
we're gonna cut them
idea.
hours. We're gonna cut them hours back. We're gonna cut them hours for sure.
The second I started cutting down some hours, just like make gym time more regular and like be more consistent with the meals I was eating. And
the
like,
meals.
All right, now I get to like see the sun outside during.
Bruh. What are you talking about, bro? Not seeing the sun every day?
Not seeing the sun, especially in the winter. Like, it's just...
Come on, gang. You better preach, bro.
Oh, seeing the sun hits different.
Bro, it hit different, bro. That's another reason why I'm kind of like, I ain't going to be in New York City too much longer because it's like, you get to thinking like, oh, shit. Like, my ex would tell me this. She's like, you can't see the sun here. And I was like, oh, you can't.
Yeah.
The horizon line is completely good. You gotta have money to see the sun in New York.
The craziest thing. I was in Long Island and I looked up and I was like, my cousin had like a the app on his phone so you could like see what
the sun tracker shit.
the stars and the suns.
Yeah.
And bro, I'm there like it's freezing out there. I'm out there like a little kid, like yo,
Yeah,
stars, like
real.
so hyped, like stars,
for real, bro.
Like I'm like, yo, why am I so excited to see stars?
Because it's a wonder. It's a virtue of life, bro, and it's free.
We overcomplicated it here.
Yeah.
Like we overcomplicated it here. To answer your question, so routine. You guys have talked about it beautifully, right? But a big part of it for me has been anytime I'm looking at a piece of business or a contract, instead of looking at what this is like a routine, instead of looking at what dollar amount I'm charging, I try to look at what value I'm providing.
Come on.
Like, what am I creating here? Because I think for a lot of times, right, like we get into it, like, yo, we got to make bread, right? But I look at everything now as like hey, what am I contributing to something larger here?
Yeah.
I don't gotta be. It's not about me being the main star and it impacting my bank balance.
Sure.
Yeah,
it's what am I contributing to something larger than
what can
myself.
you do with this value?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because like bigger than the money, it's like based upon what I might do for you, you can do a lot with that if you know what you're doing.
Again, if I'm giving you, I'm quantifying it, but if I'm giving you $100 worth of value and you could flip it to 1,000,
you
that's
could flip
beautiful.
it to 1,000.
That's beautiful.
So I could easily charge you 1,000. You know what I mean? So it's just value. And
Always.
I want people to look at life more like that. And I also think this is the biggest difference between people. It's like the biggest difference between a poverty mindset and people who are more like financially literate. You know what I mean? It's like stop looking at it like in dollar amounts and look at it like value. Like I was talking to a young dude the other day and he was like, man, like I got to keep this job. He was like on his last strike to getting fired or whatever like that. But he feel like they finessing him though too. Like they're trying to get him out of there. I was trying to encourage him, like, bro, I know what it feel like when you need that money. It's like, I'm not trying to hear nothing about go get another job. I feel you, but I need you to understand, like, the value that you get from that money is not as much as you think, even if it's more money than you've ever had.
I think the other thing that a lot of people fall into the trap of is, like, looking at money as the end goal.
Yes.
Versus looking at money as an intermediary
for
like
gang,
the things that you actually want. Because I think a lot of times, like, I had this one conversation one time where it was just like, I would totally be okay if I never earned another dollar if I had housing that was solid.
In a minute.
If I got good food.
In a minute.
Like if I did work where I just like went to the place and they had the food and I was like doing things that were of value and like all of it was barter.
In a minute.
And I never made an actual dollar. Cool.
In a minute.
Don't care.
We forget that. Like
the only because the actual end goal is like the things that you would want to do with the money.
The only reason I wanted a corp job was to do this.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I wanted a fucking paycheck was to do this.
But that's why it's important to, again, understand nothing's bigger than the program. Because America hit you with the bait and switch. You know what I mean? You be thinking like, you want the money to do a thing. Then you get the money. The thing not even as important to you no more. You completely lost sight of it. And it's like, and now you living outside of your purpose. And that's why, it's inevitable you got depressed.
Yeah,
you know
man,
what I mean?
there's a lot of situations where people can't look at like the third, fourth, fifth layer why.
Come on,
of like
bro.
why something's important.
Come on, bro.
I think that is one of those things where once I started having that be more of a central part of the conversation that I was having with myself, it's like, okay, look, I want to do this thing or I want to get this thing, but like, why do I want to do that? And like, is that truly a thing that's worth it? Cool. If it is, wonderful. Like, but at the same time, it's like, is this just a thing that I'm getting because it's an intermediary or it's not the end goal or it's like a thing that I think I should have that I don't necessarily want or like has value for me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna start that. I like that. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna ask myself before I take any contract. I'm gonna ask myself like 3 whys or 4 whys to get to why I'm taking the contract, right? Because it gotta be bigger than the money, right? Because sometimes I don't think like I definitely do have reasons for taking these contracts. Yeah. But I don't think I'm being honest with myself about what that reason is, right?
You don't go through it that thoroughly.
Yeah, I think it will get me to start thinking out like what you're saying, like think out a little bit further by asking the why. Because like it's like, okay, it can be about the money, but is it so I can get to next week? So I can like ask yourself why.
What is it about for real?
Like what is the actual why? I like that.
And then like just to get more just to go to a space of like just a little bit more of just like a thing of a tangible time when this was like a thing that I thought about. It's like, all right, I don't have to get a new car. But like that was one of those things that I had on my list for years, like the better part of a decade. And it's one of those things that has brought me so much joy, not only having the thing, but like knowing that that was the first car that I like legitimately bought with my own money, and that is paid off, and like I don't got to worry about. Like it's nothing fancy. It's like an old 20-year-old car, but it was just like it's an old car with 2 doors and a stick shift. And the conversation that I had with myself before I got it was, I really sat and like did some of that reflection of like, this could be a completely ridiculous purchase if this was just the thing that I was getting to like show off or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, there was a level of not just motivation, but also like sustenance and just recognition of like being in a better place, that it was valuable for that reason and not just because it was just some car that I was paying a couple grand for.
What your why is doesn't matter. It has to make sense to you. As long as it was intentional.
Yeah.
Right? Like sometimes like, yo, why, like you got to ask yourself, like, why did I bring this chain? Right?
Yeah.
It could be like, yo, like I needed something to make me a physical proof of the work that I've put in.
Yeah.
It may not make sense to whoever.
That makes sense to me, shit.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And it's intentional.
Yeah.
That car purchase, it may not make sense to whoever. I mean, like, why you need that to prove?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's like some people who aren't car people and don't necessarily value the thing for the art that it is.
Yeah, the word value.
Like for them, like driving a Toyota Camry is totally fine.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
No shame. Like
for sure,
having a complicated car that you need to know how to work on and fix on your own and shit, and like have that kind of like, it's almost like a hobby. It's like the one hobby that I pay the extra money for, because it's not, I'm not making money having that car. But it is one of those things that it's like, okay,
value.
I have this hobby that I like. I get
value.
to wrench on the weekends.
Brings you
like,
joy.
Yeah.
And it's
like, also just like, okay, well, if I can make this thing work, even if I need to, like, if I can replace a thing on my own, like that for me is a little bit of accomplishment. I don't know. It's one of those, like, I like building things with my hands.
Bro,
it's like adult Legos, to be completely honest.
That's so important, because that's the real meta here, right? Like we talked about, like, again, like mental health in general. The real meta is that they told you what was supposed to make you happy. Every person's thing that makes them happy is unique to them.
Yeah.
But we all do all the same exact things because that's what we were told. Go to school, go to college, whatever, right? Because they tell you, hey, that's what's gonna make you happy.
Yep.
Every person's sense of fulfillment is very different. For my dad, it might be gardening. For you, it might be working on a car. For me, it might be working on a business, right? Yep. For Wolf, it might be raising a family. Everybody's sense, and that's where the unhappiness comes from. When you're doing something and you're putting time into something that is not bringing you value or fulfillment or joy, then it's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Last thing, I'll answer my own question, but on something that I've started doing recently that has had such great returns on just mental health and like having the space, is toning down the immediacy of my communication. It's one of those weird the immediacy of my communication. Oh, okay. Like not holding myself to the standards of other people's time. And I say that in the sense of like, not necessarily in a rude way, but it's like, okay, I'm not checking my texts every 5 minutes. I commit to like, all right, the bulk answering of like every few hours. And it's like, okay, I'm going to take this time to be present in the thing that's going on. Kind of like what we're talking about with the presence. Like, I'm going to be present with the thing that's going on. And like, there are ways for people to get in touch with me that is like, okay, if you need me immediately, like if you call me, I will pick up, or I will text you that I couldn't pick up and like hit you. Right. But for example, today's like my birthday, and I like have a whole bunch of happy birthday messages in my phone.
Today your birthday?
Yeah.
Bro, today's your birthday?
Yeah.
What is we doing here?
I'm just chilling, bro.
This is nuts.
For example, like,
happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But like, for example, like I have a whole bunch of happy birthday messages in my phone. It's like, am I extremely grateful, and I can't wait to tell all those people that I'm grateful for those messages. Ready, but at the same time, it's like I'm not going to be immediately responding to the plethora of messages that I'm getting throughout the day as I get them. Like when I get out of here and like I've finished with all the sessions and I've taken care of the responsibilities that I have, I'm gonna sit on my phone for like 15 minutes on the bus ride back, and I'm just like gonna hit everybody back and tell them like, I appreciate you, thank you, blah blah blah. But for the most part, like I'm not just going to be there by my phone all day with spending so much of my brain space specifically just reserved for keeping track of the things on my phone. Same thing with email. Like I've lately over the last few months, I've gone to like, I check it in the morning, I check it like midday, and I check it in the evening. And if anything's like very urgent, the people that would have something that's like legitimately urgent, they have my number, they can call me. And like those people know that.
It's beautiful. You have control over your life.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like, I forget where I heard that the first time. But the second I started doing that, it's like, it just allows you to be so much more present and appreciate a lot of the things that are going on. Like give so much more energy to the people that are right in front of you. It's like fabulous, the return on investment that you get from like actually giving people the committed energy when you're like with them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Happy birthday, bro, for real.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ram. What a real one.
Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah, we're just chilling. But yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys sitting down.
Thanks for having us, Ram.
Good conversation.
Absolutely.
Good vibes. All right. Anything else that we want to say? Where people can find you?
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm Wolf Taylor. You can find me at the Halfway Up podcast. I call it Halfway Up because you never finish rising. Self-development podcast. We talking about stop being a people pleaser, extend your parents' grace, stop being a bitch, shit like that. You know what I mean? We're just trying to get you to feel better and get closer to what it is that you need to do to get closer to you. So, yeah, if you like that type of shit, fuck with me, follow me.
Damn, I didn't want to go after Wealth. Ihram Chowdhury, aka Little Baby Ram, conversations with Chai, all of that. You know what it is.
All of that.
You know what it is. Like I be potting, I be out here. Y'all got a taste of it. Yo, happy birthday to the man, Ram.
Yeah, happy birthday to the man. For real.
Come on, bro. What a real one. Talk about a real one. Like honestly, like appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Peace.
Well, did you say your podcast?
Yeah. Conversation with Chai. Stream that.
Okay. Yeah. I bet.
All right. Yeah, I'll throw the links in the show notes.
I bet.
Incredible.
All right,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Thanks for sitting down.
Yeah.
Peace.
Yo, happy birthday, Ram.
Bro, it's his birthday for real.